Every day, you essentially pay your dues by doing the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. I don't want to offend any medical providers on here, but medical providers are notoriously guilty of underloading kids when it comes to some of this stuff. They say, oh, it's a small muscle. It doesn't need to be strong. It's a stabilizer. So do 2 reps of 30, or sorry, 2 sets of 30 or 3 sets of 15. And while in theory, the endurance thing might be well, what happens is you never grow those muscles, right? Gymnastics forces are 5, 6, 7, 10 times body weight in traction forces. So if you have a cuff set that's really not strong and a force of giants or tap swings that is really, really strong, that's why we have some of these issues like labral or cuff irritation, stuff like that. So that's one of the first things I'm fixing on people when they come to the clinic is let's not go 3 sets of 15 with a 2-pound dumbbell. Let's go 3 sets of 8 with a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-pound dumbbell to grow these muscles. So that's what I would say first. You have to make sure that the balance of front to back pushing is really, really well balanced here, because I bet I could name 100 kids right now that can literally knock out 2 sets of 50 push-ups with no problem, but they couldn't do 10 perfect feet elevated horizontal rows, which is the opposite of a push-up. So feet up on a spotting block, so you're parallel to the ground, hanging from a low bar, and you're literally just rowing straight up to the bar, tapping your chest, coming up and down. We want to do that on a straight bar so that we don't encourage the arms coming lower like a TRX or a ring row, which is more lat dominant. So elbows wide, pulling straight to your shoulders, collarbones. That's middle back, that's upper back. That's really good development there. And I personally find that strength testing wise at Champion, we have dynamometers where we measure this. We have a very advanced scientific force plate and a force frame system to measure objectively strength of these ratios of numbers. And we notoriously see gymnasts who are like super weak in their upper back, right? And so on paper, it's like, okay, big deal, you're weak in your upper back. But how do you think you maintain a handstand angle with your arms open? Like when you hit table, when you hit like a release move, it's your shoulder blades doing this, right? And pushing through here, that's scap. That's all scap. That's not under here. That's not pec. Part of it is, but it's deltoid and upper back together. So I find a lot of kids are really, really weak in their upper back. And so along with the twice per week of cuff stuff, it has to be balanced throughout their program of maybe having 2 times a week where they're doing some sort of horizontal rowing. So feet elevated horizontal rows are really good to start because you can put the kids' knees on the block and their calves on the block and take weight off. So it's perfect form, and then move the block out to their heels. So it's more of a longer lever. You can also weight that for athletes that are really advanced with a weight vest or just putting a plate on their chest. It's very, very easy. It's the opposite of a push-up, but also face pulls are really good here. So half kneeling face pulls right to their collarbone or right to their eye level. Renegade rows on dumbbells are good because it's obviously one arm working at a time. And then, yeah, those are the big ones. Feet elevated rows, face pulls, renegade rows. For little kids that really can't process that, have them just sit against the wall and do banded U's or banded pull aparts or X's, and you can develop it that way as well. Like I've had literally 7-year-olds sitting down against the wall doing X bands and pull aparts as a side station or as an accessory piece in some of their strength. So yeah, combination of just grunt work strength for their upper back, really, really good cuff strength, and then maintaining overhead soft tissue flexibility. Like if somebody came to the clinic with a slap tear with a cuff issue, it'd be like those conversations along with modifying some of the skills that they're working on. And I think this is going to be gold standard changing moving forward, which is these hybrid models of gymnasts lifting weights and better periodization off season. Because when you look across the board of what can we do to help, one of the most obvious things is proper weight training programs at the right age with the right instruction and strength coaches assistants. So I know a lot of people on this call and in the Hero Lab and stuff are forward thinking already, so they're probably doing it. But there are still a crazy amount of gyms across the world who literally not only don't want to have kids lift, they're actively speaking against lifting. We're saying like it's going to cause injuries, lose flexibility, blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy. It's crazy to me because it's hypocritical to say a goblet squat will hurt some kid, but a double back 5,000 times a month won't. But 2 is that like, you just have to understand what the problem is. It's an equation. All injuries, tendon tears, ruptures, whatever, are an equation of load on tissue and tissue capacity, right? The seesaw is ever swinging back and forth, whether you can talk about day to day, week to week, or month to month, year to year. But like forces are here of gymnastics. We know those 15 to 18 times body weight, 23 times body weight at the ankle joint. Capacity is here. Prepubescent kid who is research supports is not anywhere near their peak level of strength, power, or cardiovascular fitness. Flexibility and ability to learn skills, yes, possibly, but you can still train those skills without beating the kids up super crazy. You can train tripasses and double pikes and full ins on rod strips or long strips or tumble tracks and learn technique. There's no way you can totally do that. But like asking the 12 to 14-year-old with open growth plates who isn't strong enough, isn't powerful enough, and isn't cardiovascularly fit to do all the hardest skills in a floor routine multiple times per week and then go compete, you're like asking to jump off a cliff without a parachute, man. Like it's for me.
Well, just to kind of give you an example, since COVID,
Mhm.
and getting involved with the Hero Lab, taking on all your programming, we've gone to the 6 day a week hybrid model. The average national kid on my team has increased their 10 bounce by over 2 to 2.5 seconds,
Holy
which
crap.
is pretty huge. Their skill acquisition has gone through the roof. We had a girl compete at Virtual Elite Canada, win her category by over 5.5 points.
Oh my
If
God.
you know anything about trampoline, you know that's pretty freaking huge.
Yeah.
And she's gone from level 6. Our levels are different than you guys. She's actually going to be mobilizing to senior, hopefully at our next meet. And she's going in not as what would be referred to as a baby senior. She'll actually be doing senior team difficulty performance levels. And I attribute that to the total ripping apart of our full strength training program and putting in a proper program. She was a level 9 gymnast here in Canada, which we use the same program as you guys. She says she's more fit and flexible now than any time in the history of her being an athlete in gymnastics. So,
amazing, man, good for you. Good for you.
Just real quick, I've got like a whole bunch of athletes that have like various ranges of injuries. I'm not the most organized person. I struggle a lot with that kind of stuff. Like, what are some tips or ways to kind of keep track of like where the kids are on their road to recovery, like on the 6 to 8 week schedule versus 4 weeks? They should be like various places in it. Like how do you keep track of all that?
Yeah. So 2 ways. One is through just fluid communication, which is hard to do with a lot of athletes about who's got what and who's achy here, who's that. That is probably the best way to do it because it's hard to keep in line that way. So one is through that. And two is through just like literally like an objective binder or notes program. So you can have a binder that has, not incident reports, but more so just like a 1-page note progress on something. So some gyms I've met and taught to do it, they do it through literally just like if somebody has an injury, they start a new incident report and then paper clipped or taped to that or stapled to that on the back is just a blank sheet. And they take it out and they write the date, what the injury was. And then like 2 weeks later, updated PT, here are the exercises we're doing, vault bars, beam floor, trampoline. Here's where we're at in terms of soft surfaces, hard surfaces. So you can do it in a hands version, or you could also do it on a Google Doc. You could have a folder privately on your gym's or your staff's drive that's private access and is locked for kids, the right, what's what I'm looking for? The right access for people who only should have it through like permissions, right? But just have separate tabs and notes on the Excel sheet or on the Google Drive sheet about like Sarah broke her ankle in this date and she was cleared by her doctor on this date. And she's now cleared with her PT for soft surfaces, vault. She can't do floor, but she can do bars and she can do beam light jumps. And you just put that note in. So any coach working with that athlete can hop in and be like, oh, okay, last week it says you were working on this. Or is this still where you're at? And every time you have something new, you just toss in there. Justin, you got some? Question is, how do you decrease wrist pain, strains, and pains beyond basic stretching? Yeah, wrist pain in quick view here. One is workload. So you have to make sure that you're not doing the same impact over and over, just like we just talked about with the legs. So you can't do, tumbling and your chankle vaulting and like shoot overs, right, in the same day, or impact in the same day, or handstand pops. For compulsory to be like, you have to be careful on hard floor tumbling and front handsprings and a lot of their casting work all in the same day because it's just so much on their wrist. So maybe I personally would like to see somebody maybe alternate floor and vault volume. So you can do all 4 events every day, but if you go really hard on vault, probably don't want to go really hard on floor too. Maybe alternate those like dance, leaps, turns, soft surfaces back and forth each day. And then also trying to maybe rotate doing the impact handstand type work, a lot of that on bars with under swings, long hang swings, dismounts, all that kind of stuff. So if you do like a ton of floor, ton of vault, then a ton of pirouetting and a ton of handstand work multiple days in a row, it's very easy to get someone's wrist to be sore. So the workload aspect of it is by far and away the most important thing. 2, like you said, stretching, soft tissue stuff, flexibility, you're probably already working that. 3, essential back to this conversation theme is strength conditioning, is a lot of times direct strength work to the wrist is not being done. So a PVC or a hammer doing like supination and wrist extensions with weights, and curls are really, really good. But also, see you, Steven. Thanks for coming, buddy. But also a lot of things where they load the wrist at a young age and kind of get built strength is really important. So if you don't have someone who's familiar with the more advanced stuff, you can literally just do overhead weight carries. So just literally dumbbell overhead, ear to shoulder, wrist is neutral, just walking back and forth is a really good way to do it. If they have shoulder flexibility limitations, you can walk here at 90-90 and it gets got wrist straight and it kind of works on the stability and the strength around the wrist. Ideal setting is teaching somebody a Turkish get up or some sort of overhead carry, because that is a very good way to load the wrist in different positions. It has a bajillion different benefits beyond just their wrist, but it's very, very good to do it. So immediate would be workload, keep stretching, trying to do some strengthening for the wrist, trying to do some loaded carry work. Long-term solution is probably going to be trying to look at shoulder flexibility, look at rotating of their surfaces, and teach them some loaded wrist work like Turkish get-ups or stuff like that. I think that's probably going to be the most beneficial.